Hello again, Year 6. So today we are going to be looking at measuring angles in degrees. Now, we haven't covered this year, but you should have covered it last year, so we're going to recap on last year's work. So first of all, what are the different types of angles? So I'll give you a hint. They're named based on the size of the angle. What are they called? Can you remember them? So we have an acute angle, a right angle, an obtuse angle, and a reflex angle. Okay? So an acute angle is any angle below 90 degrees, so smaller than 90 degrees. A right angle is where the two lines meet perpendicular and create an angle of 90 degrees. So a right angle has got to be 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is an angle larger than 90 degrees but smaller than 180 degrees. And then a reflex angle is an angle that's larger than 180 degrees but smaller than 360 degrees. So let's just have a look at these sentence stems. We are going to have a look at these clocks and we're going to see if we can use this sentence stem to make it correct. So we're going to compare the turns to a right angle. Okay? So we've got the turn from something to something is something than the right angle. It is an something angle. If we look at this first clock here, we know that a right angle is 90 degrees. So if I draw my right angle on this clock, my right angle would go to the number 3. Okay? Right angle on this clock. Remember, you've got 4 right angles. So this here is a right angle. This is a right angle. This is a right angle. And this is a right angle. Okay? And then again here. And then here. So I've drawn my right angles on there. So now I can work it out. So let's start with the first one. So the angle from 12 to 2 is what kind of angle? What kind of angle is it? Is it smaller, larger, or the same as a right angle? It's smaller, isn't it? Because if we look, our right angle would be here. So our angle is smaller. So it is smaller than a right angle. It is an acute angle. Okay, so remember, if it is smaller than a right angle, it is an acute angle. Okay, so this one would be an acute angle. What about this one then? Let's just get rid of my drawings for now. So if we use our right angle then as this one here, okay, so if we have a look, this here is our right angle. We've got this extra bit of angle here, haven't we, to get from 6 to 8. So if we have a look then, the angle from, what is it from? Let's have a look. So the angle from 3 to 8 this time it's larger than a right angle, isn't it? It's larger than a right angle. So therefore that means it is an obtuse angle. Okay? Let's have a look at this one then. So the angle from 12 to 3, oh, it wants this angle here. Okay, so 12 to 3 is our right angle. But remember, if it is larger than 180 degrees, so larger than your straight line down the middle, that must mean it's a reflex angle. So we've got a right angle here, and then we'd have a right angle here, okay, to make our straight line. But if you can see, we've still got all of this bit here to get to, okay? So that must mean that our angle is a reflex angle. So we're going from 3 to 12, aren't we? The angle from 3 to 12 is larger than a right angle. It is a reflex angle, okay? Because it's larger than a straight line, which is this here. Remember, a straight line is worth 180 degrees, but it is smaller than a full turn. because your full turn would end up back here at the 3. And then let's have a look at our last one. So we've got our right angle drawn in already, but we've still got this little bit of angle here to go, haven't we? Okay, so it's larger than a right angle. So the angle from 12 to 4 is larger than a right angle, but this time it's not a reflex angle, because if we draw our straight line in there, we've still got this bit here as a gap, haven't we? So we haven't reached our straight line, so it's smaller than 180 degrees, which means it's an obtuse angle. Okay? Well done if you followed that with me. So, how many degrees then is a right angle or a quarter turn? So we have just looked at that. Can you remember, how many degrees is it? Well done if you said 90 degrees. How many degrees is a half turn? So I have just said that also, but you may have forgotten. Well done if you said 180 degrees. How many degrees is a full rotation? Now we've not looked at that one today so far, but you should remember it from last year. So a full rotation, so for example, if you stood and you make a full turn, so you end up back where you started, how many degrees is a full rotation? Well done if you said 360 degrees. Okay, so what about a reflex angle then? So which of these correctly shows the reflex angle? Okay, so we've got this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. Okay, so we can limit it slightly because we already know that this one here is a right angle because its lines meet perpendicular to each other, and it's got a square for the angle box. So if it's got a square where the angle is, that means it is a right angle. Okay, so that is 90 degrees. This one here is 45 degrees, so we know that it is less than 90 because it tells us it's only 45, so that must mean it's an acute angle. This one here is a straight line, so we know that a straight line is 180 degrees. And that is not a reflex angle because it's a straight line. So that must mean that this one here is the reflex angle. Well done if you correctly identified the reflex angle. So, always, sometimes, or never then? Is it always, sometimes, or never true that a reflex angle is always less than 360 degrees, that a reflex angle is always less than 180 degrees, and that a reflex angle is between 245 degrees and 360 degrees? So thinking about what we've just said about reflex angles, what I would like you to do is pause the video now and have a go at answering this. Okay, so let's have a look then. So a reflex angle is always less than 360 degrees. That is true, because if an angle was 360 degrees, that would be a full rotation, wouldn't it? A full turn. A reflex angle is always less than 180 degrees. Well, that would be never, wouldn't it? Okay, because we said that 180 degrees is a straight line. Anything less than 180 degrees, you've got your right angle and acute angles. Okay? And C, a reflex angle is between 245 degrees and 360 degrees. Well, your answer there would be sometimes, because a reflex angle is anything between 180 degrees and 360 degrees. So it could even be less than this 245 degrees. Have a look here then. What mistake have I made with my answers? What mistake have I made? So if we look at the question, it says always, sometimes, or never. Okay? And I've put as my answer, I've put true. So my answer is not even up here. So my answer must be always. Okay? So remember, whenever you are answering questions, always look at what it is asking you to put. It could be true or false. It could be sometimes, always, or never. Okay? So make sure you put in the right answer, because silly mistakes like that can lose you marks. Let's have a look at this question then. Use the correct symbol to complete these statements. So we've got 135 degrees and half a turn. We've got 3/4 of a turn and 270 degrees. And we have got 3/8 of a turn and 270 degrees. Okay, so are they smaller, equal to, or larger? Pause the video now and have a go at these. And using our knowledge of degrees, we can see that 90 degrees would be there, and for this one it's slightly above 90 degrees. So we can see that 3/8, which is 135 degrees, would be larger than this one because it is only just over 90 degrees. And again, 270 degrees would be larger, so they should face this way. Well, well done if you got that one correct. Let's have a look at this one then. So look at the time on the clock. Draw where the minute hand will be after a 270-degree turn clockwise. Okay, so remember 270 degrees is 3/4 of a full turn. Okay, so if we draw on this clock here our 90 degrees, we can see that our 90 degrees, so our 1/4 turn, has 1, 2, 3 numbers. Okay, so if you count on 1, 2, 3 would be a half turn, 1, 2, 3 would be another quarter turn, so it'd be a 3/4 turn. Okay, from 3 o'clock. So ignore that for this one because I've done it from 3 o'clock, not from 10 to 6. So you need to turn 3/4. So if you've got 3 numbers, I would count 3 numbers on each time. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so let's remember we only need to draw where the minute hand will finish. Okay, so it's this hand here that we need to be focusing on because that is our minute hand. So let's have a look then. So your minute hand should finish at 7, because if we draw it on this clock first of all, so if we start here, and if we move 3 numbers, we've got 1, 2, 3, that's 1 turn, quarter turn, 1, 2, 3, that's 2 quarter turns, 1, 2, 3, that's 3/4 turns, therefore that is where your minute hand would finish. Well done if you got that one correct. Okay, so now we need to work out how many 1/8 turns are equal to 180 degrees. So first of all, I would work out how many quarter turns are in 180 degrees. Okay, so in 180 degrees, so that is your straight line. I know that I have got 2 quarter turns. Okay, so I want to know my 1/8 turns. How many 8 turns have I got? So remember, an 1/8 is smaller than a quarter, so you need to multiply by 2. Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so if we have a look over here then, we can see that in a quarter turn, in a half turn, so down this straight line, we have got 2 quarter turns. So a quarter turn is a right angle, so we've got 2 of them. Okay, so we want to know how many turns, how many 8ths of a turn we've got. So these 2 red lines here have split my quarters into 8ths. Okay, so I want to know how many 8ths I have got in this straight line. So I'm going to count them. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've got 4 turns that are an 1/8 of a turn in 180 degrees. Okay, so what you could have done was multiply 2 by 2 to get 4 as well, because we know that there's going to be twice as many 1/8 of a turn as a quarter of a turn. Okay, well done if you got that one correct. Sam says, my turn will be a reflex angle if I turn from northeast to west clockwise. Is he correct? Circle yes or no. Explain your answer. Okay, so we're going from northeast, which is here, to west, which is here, and we are going clockwise. So clockwise, remember, is the way that the clock would go. So that is this way, okay? So he wants to know if it is going to be a reflex angle. So let's just remind ourselves, a reflex angle is larger than 180 degrees, but smaller than 360 degrees, okay? So you've got to pause the video, circle yes or no, and explain your answer. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, let's have a look at the answer then. So, yes, he is correct because if he turned clockwise from northeast to southwest, that would be a half turn. Okay, so remember it's a straight line there from northeast to southwest, so that would be my half turn. And a reflex angle is larger than a half turn. Okay, and as you can see, we've still got this bit here to go to get to west, so that must mean that it is correct. Well done if you got that right. Okay, this is our last question for today. So remember, it's an always, sometimes, or never question. So do not make the same mistake that I made earlier. Make sure that you put always, sometimes, or never. Okay? So if I turn from northeast to northwest, I have turned 90 degrees. If I turn from east to northwest, I will have turned through an obtuse angle. If I turn from southwest to south, my turn will be larger than 350 degrees. Okay, so there is a compass here to help you. So the first one from northeast here to northwest, which is here, I have turned 90 degrees. If I have turned from east to northwest, I will have turned through an obtuse angle. So from east to northwest. If I turn from southwest to south, my turn will be larger than 350 degrees. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, let's have a look at the answer then. So they are all sometimes true because it would depend whether you are turning clockwise or anti-clockwise, okay? And it would also depend on how many turns you were doing before you reached it. So it's not specific enough for us to give a definite answer. So they are all sometimes true. Well done if you also thought that that was always sometimes. Speak to you soon, Year 6.